Welcome to the HR Spoonfuls podcast, brought to you by Andera HR, the home of Help Desk for HR.com and AI for HRHub.com, where you can find assistance from qualified human resources professionals and learn about all things related to the use of artificial intelligence solutions for your HR department. Now listen in as your AI-driven hosts, Alex and Ivy, discuss interesting and current human resources topics, one spoonful at a time.
Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And today we're going to try to, untangle some of the latest changes and really just kind of keep up with labor law postings. It's one of those things you see up on the break room wall and just kind of, glaze over as an employee. But as an employer, it's something you got to keep up with.
Oh, absolutely.
So we'll break it down today, what's new, what matters to you, and maybe just what might be coming next.
It's true. This is a constantly evolving area of the law, and it can be tough to keep up with it.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Exactly. And one of the trends that's really interesting to me that I've seen pop up is this move towards electronic postings. I was really surprised to learn that Massachusetts just became the 5th state to mandate electronic postings for certain labor law notices.
It's a big change, and I think we'll see even more states adopting similar policies. For employers, it means that they need to provide electronic access if there's no suitable place to physically post the notice, which is, great for remote worker situations.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially if they're remote work becoming more and more common. So Massachusetts is the 5th state. What are the other 4 states that are already on board with this electronic posting mandate?
So far, it's Colorado, Illinois, New York, and Oregon. And each state has its own specifics about which notices need to be posted electronically. For example, Colorado requires electronic postings for things like the minimum wage and paid leave, while New York wants all postings to be available online.
Wow, they're not messing around. It seems like they're really embracing the digital age when it comes to labor law.
Absolutely. And it's not just happening at the state level either. Both the Department of Labor and the EEOC have put out recommendations encouraging electronic posting, particularly for remote workers.
So this is definitely a trend with some momentum behind it. What are the potential downsides to this shift towards electronic postings?
That's a great question. It offers convenience and accessibility, but it also presents new challenges.
Yeah.
How do you ensure employees are actually engaging with the notices online? How do you track who has accessed them? These are all things employers need to be thinking about.
Yeah, it's not as easy as just, slapping a PDF up on the company website and calling it a day. You really got to make sure that those notices are easy to find, easy to understand, easy for employees to access.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's move on to something that's probably top of mind for a lot of employers right now. Time off to vote posters with the November 5th election right around the corner. It's important to make sure you're prepared.
Absolutely.
Where should employers even begin?
Well, the good news is there were only 3 areas with specific time off to vote poster requirements: California, the District of Columbia, and New York.
Okay, so let's break those down one by one. What are the key things that California employers need to know?
In California, employers need to display the time off to vote poster 10 days before the election. And it needs to be somewhere employees can easily see it, like near the entrance or the exit.
Got it. So clear visibility is key. What about D.C.?
In the District of Columbia, the time off to vote in the 2024 general election posting has to be visible at each work site. If that's not possible, employers have to get creative and find other ways to distribute the notice, like sending a digital copy in an email.
Okay, so they offer some flexibility there. What about New York? What are their rules?
New York requires employers to display the New York State election law posting at least 10 working days before every election, and it needs to stay up until the polls close on Election Day.
Wow, 10 working days. That's quite a lead time. Employers in New York really have to be on top of their game to meet that deadline.
Absolutely. And here's something that's really important for everyone listening. Even if your state doesn't require a specific time off to vote poster, you still might have laws about voting leave. So check your state's specific requirements. Don't just assume you're in the clear.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's better to be safe than sorry, especially when it comes to legal matters. Okay, so are you ready for the wild card? Because just when I thought I had a handle on all this labor law posting stuff, another new trend popped up.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Veteran services postings. It seems like this one came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And now it's everywhere.
Yeah. So fill me in. What are these postings all about and why are they suddenly so popular?
Essentially, these postings outline the benefits and services that are available to veterans, and the goal is to raise awareness and make sure that veterans know what support they're entitled to.
Okay, it's a very positive development. Which states are requiring these postings right now?
At the moment, it's Indiana, Maine, Minnesota, New Hampshire, and New York.
Another one for New York to keep track of. It seems like they're at the forefront of a lot of these new posting requirements.
Mhm.
What about other states? Any on the horizon?
Yes, actually, Massachusetts is set to join that list in January 2025.
Oh, wow.
So, Massachusetts employers, mark your calendars.
It seems like Massachusetts is quickly becoming like a hotbed for labor law posting changes. First electronic postings, now this. I guess it goes to show that this is a landscape that's constantly evolving.
You got it. And that's why it's so important to stay informed and be proactive about compliance.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part. From the rise of electronic postings to the nuances of time off to vote posters and the emergence of veteran services postings. It's clear that the world of labor law postings is anything but static.
It is.
We'll be back to delve a little deeper into some of the implications of these trends and what employers can do to stay ahead of the curve.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the ever-changing world of labor law postings. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much to explore.
There is. And, it could feel like a race to keep up with all these changes. Electronic postings, time off to vote mandates, veteran services postings. It's a lot to juggle.
It absolutely is, and that's why I think it's so important for employers to be thinking proactively about compliance rather than waiting for a problem to come up.
I agree. How do we do that? How do we even begin to be proactive in such a dynamic landscape?
Well, one of the simplest yet most effective strategies is to stay informed. Subscribe to industry newsletters, attend webinars, connect with legal professionals who specialize in labor law. All of these things can really help you anticipate changes before they become a major headache.
That's a great point. It's like having a heads up before the curveball comes at you.
Exactly. And your state's Department of Labor website is a goldmine of information. Usually they have a whole section dedicated to labor law postings. You can find up-to-date requirements, download notices, and often they even have email alerts you can sign up for so you know when things change.
And the best part is that information is usually free. It's like having a personal compliance assistant, but without the salary. Speaking of assistants, what about technology? Can software help us navigate this complex world of postings?
Absolutely. Compliance management software can be a game changer. Especially for businesses with multiple locations or remote workers, these platforms track changes in labor law, automate the process of ordering and displaying the latest notices, and they even send reminders when it's time to update your postings.
So instead of manually checking for updates and scrambling to find the right posters, this software just kind of does the heavy lifting for you.
Precisely, and that frees up your time and energy to focus on the things that really matter, like running your business.
I love it. Now let's circle back to those electronic postings we were discussing earlier. Simply having those notices available online isn't enough, right? How can employers really ensure that employees are engaging with those notices?
That's a crucial question. It's not just about access, it's about accessibility and engagement.
Okay, I'm all ears. What does that look like in practice?
Sure. First, make sure those notices are easy to find and access from any device, whether it's a computer tablet or a smartphone. Don't make your employees go hunting for them.
Right. It needs to be user-friendly, mobile optimized. Nobody wants to be zooming in and out on a tiny PDF on their phone.
Exactly. And think about how you can integrate those notices into your regular communication channels. Maybe include links in your company newsletter. Or send out periodic reminders to employees about where to find the latest updates.
Oh, I like that. It's about making it part of the company culture, not just another box to check off.
Precisely. And don't be afraid to get creative. You can use visuals, infographics, maybe even short animated videos to explain key points in a way that's engaging and memorable.
Right. It's all about finding ways to make compliance feel less intimidating and more accessible for everyone. And at the end of the day, isn't that really the goal? We want employees to understand their rights and feel confident about exercising them.
Absolutely. And while we're on the topic of best practices, let's not forget about the importance of documentation. Keeping detailed records of when and how you've provided access to these notices, both physical and electronic, is absolutely essential.
Documentation. Not the most glamorous part of compliance, but definitely crucial. Why is it so important?
Well, if you ever face an audit or a legal challenge, those records are going to be your best defense. They demonstrate that you've made a good faith effort to comply with the law and inform your employees of their rights.
So it's about covering your bases and being prepared for any situation. It sounds like good documentation not only protects you legally, but it also helps to build a culture of transparency and accountability within the organization.
Exactly. It shows your employees that you take compliance seriously and that you value their rights. Now, are you ready to explore why all of this even matters in the first place?
Absolutely. We've talked about the what and the how, but now let's get to the why. Why should employers really care about all this posting stuff?
Let's dive into that in part 3.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into labor law postings. We've talked about the trends, the challenges, the opportunities, even some strategies for staying compliant. But now, let's get real. Why does all this even matter?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's easy to get lost in the weeds of compliance and lose sight of the bigger picture. But the reality is getting these postings right has a significant impact on both the employer and the employee.
Okay, so let's start with the employer's perspective. What are the potential consequences if a company just throws up its hands and says, forget it, I'm not dealing with all these posters?
Well, the most obvious risk is legal trouble. Failing to display required postings can lead to fines, penalties, even lawsuits, which can be a very costly and time-consuming distraction.
Yeah, nobody wants that. But it sounds like the implications go beyond just the legal headaches, right?
Absolutely. Think about the impact on employee morale and trust. When employees see that their employer isn't complying with the law or informing them of their rights, it sends a message that the company doesn't really value them.
Yeah, it creates this sense of disrespect and can really erode trust in the workplace.
Exactly. And in today's job market, that can be a major disadvantage. Top talent wants to work for companies that treat their employees fairly and with respect.
So failing to comply with these posting requirements could actually hurt a company's ability to attract and retain good employees.
Absolutely. It also has a ripple effect on employee relations. When workers aren't aware of their rights, they're more likely to feel taken advantage of or mistreated, leading to grievances, disputes, potentially even union organizing efforts.
Wow, so we're talking about potential legal issues, damage to the company's reputation, and difficulty attracting and retaining employees, and strained relationships with the workforce. That's a lot to risk over a few posters.
It is, but it's not just about avoiding negative consequences. There's also a positive side to getting this right.
Okay, so tell me more about that positive side.
When employers prioritize compliance and make a genuine effort to inform their employees of their rights, it creates a culture of transparency and respect. Employees feel valued and empowered, leading to a more positive and productive work environment.
Sounds like a win-win situation where everybody benefits.
Exactly. It's about fostering a strong foundation of trust and mutual respect, which ultimately leads to a more successful and harmonious workplace.
Well, this has been an incredibly eye-opening conversation. We've learned about the constant evolution of labor law postings, the challenges and opportunities they present, and really just the crucial role that they play in shaping a positive and compliant work environment.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've gained valuable knowledge and are feeling equipped to navigate this ever-changing world of labor law postings. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.
Thanks for listening to HR Spoonfuls. For more episodes like this one, drop by helpdeskforhr.com or aiforhrhub.com and subscribe to our newsletter to receive HR updates and notices when new podcast episodes are posted. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and will join us again soon.